Look, who the hell signed off on this idea? It was a throwaway line at the end of last year's White, but who thought it was a good idea to buy me a shark outfit? Honestly. I did say that 2023 would be the year of the shark, not like this. Look, so who the hell signed off on that shark idea? It was a really... Oh, we're on. Oh. Hello, I'm Jack Smit and welcome to 2023 White, a YouTube programme all about the year 2023 and things that happened. Things like this. 2023 was a year of good, bad and ugly, with happy stories followed by yet more bleak warfare. A real Smit sandwich of a ride, I guess. A new king was crowned in a show of pageantry and patriotism so big that it overshadowed the real battle for the North. Sale v Newcastle, duh. Scientists doing some research into a type of bluefin tuna got one hell of a surprise as their tag went on a mysterious sail up the M5. Now, when I seen this story in the Metro back in the midst of the summer, I knew instantly that it'd be a story worthy of the opening montage of the White, because it's just so bloody ridiculous. The son of a plumber and his mate gave wrestling fans an absolutely gold and drunk press conference.
My man, it's my man.
I'm the question. We veered away from it. What was the question?
Yeet!
Let's go, y'all.
And that's on top of a year of insane returns in the wrestling field. Look, it was a good year for wrestling, and a mate of mine would kill me if I didn't mention a certain Australian 27-year-old who became WWE Women's Champion. I would talk about her more, but we would get severely demonetised for it. Orange became the new black around the UK as lots of celebrations of some kind happened around cultural venues. Wait, what, the protests? Who even gives a f***? As Just Stop Oil broke into and interrupted major sporting events, one of which we'll get onto a little bit later on. Not content with dominating the world with a 3.5-hour show on tour and a subsequent concert film that broke box office records, perennial dump me and feel my lyrical rap musician and apparently Time's Person of the Year, Taylor Swift, released 3 albums in her ongoing efforts to own the masters of her work. Now, we're not knocking Tay-Tay at all. It is good music, people love it, people buy it. But whatever happened to good music? Wham! In sport, 2 Hollywood actors proved that having a lovely little documentary made about your local football club can and will get enough fans in the ground to make promotion to the next league happen. If only someone could do that for my club. Oh, speaking of documentaries, Premiership Rugby came out with their own Mud, Sweat and Tears documentary series on Amazon Prime. Seriously, watch it. No bugger did. It was also a year where newsreaders had to become very accustomed to breaking the news of the death of very big celebrities. It was one of those years, I guess. But meanwhile, the German way of life is the gift that keeps on giving, as a court found over there that sunbathing in the nude does not justify lower rent payments. You know, I know a sporting club who could do with ways to lower their rent like that. Not like they've paid much of it in the last 10 years. Yes, I went there. Look, it's a miracle we even have a full production team this year with the SAG strikes, with the WGA strikes, but because we're British and we're freelance, we just get on with it. So to quote a man once described as a little Yorkshire Terrier, start your engines. Let's go back to January, shall we? It was a very weird start to 2023, not least because of the hangover that a lot of people suffered for a first proper new year without the sort of Damocles that were COVID restrictions in place. London's New Year fireworks were back in their rightful place, well, unless you lived in Scarborough, in which case they were cancelled because, and I cannot believe I'm even reading these words, because of a walrus. Yes. That actually happened. And cinemas around the UK were back doing what they do best, pumping out sellout screen after sellout screen of... Well, let's be real, it was all Avatar in January, wasn't it? Everything was quite rightly back to how it should be, so much so that the fine folks at Match of the Day got royally trolled on an FA Cup game to open the year in style. Yes, serial pranksters taped a phone to the back of the Match of the Day set in an FA Cup game that had a power cut in the middle of it, creating arguably some of the greatest scenes on television that I've seen for a good couple of years.
We've an FA Cup winners only policy in the studio tonight. And I don't know who's making that noise, but so Alan Shearer is on the commentary gantry alongside Steve Bauer. Alan, it's toasty in this studio. It's a bit noisy as well. I don't know if somebody's sending something on someone's phone. I think it's a joke. I don't know whether you heard it at home.
To be fair, it was a boring game anyway, so Alan Shearer and the lads probably had a better time talking around that than they did covering the game. This wasn't the first time a BBC show had been targeted by this, Scott, as Breakfast had similar sounds during a news story a couple of years ago. And don't worry, we're going to get to the crisp lover a little bit later on. This whole situation got the attention of social media and radio too. Hell, even the TalkSport breakfast show had a few things to say about it.
You know when someone pranks you and you open your phone and they go, turn it up really loud, and then it's a woman enjoying herself sexually.
Enjoying herself? She was having the time of her life, never been enjoying herself, man. For the best part of 40 years, I must have been doing it wrong. Because I've not heard that. I've been doing it wrong for 40 years.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. I think if that's the standard, I think we've all been doing it wrong.
Woodsy admitting she envies that. Send for the man! Look, you know the year's off to a good start when a prank like that takes over the back pages over the actual games itself. Speaking of female satisfaction, everyone was also talking about Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, and a certain extract that revealed a little bit too much.
My penis was oscillating between extremely sensitive and borderline traumatized. The last place I wanted to be was Frostnipistan. I'd been trying some home remedies, including one recommended by a friend. She'd urged me to apply Elizabeth Arden cream. My mum used that on her lips. You want me to put that on my todger? It works, Harry, trust me. I found a tube, and the minute I opened it, the smell transported me through time. I felt as if my mother was right there in the room. Then I took a smidge and applied it down there.
And now I can see why he left the royal family. He's getting billions of dollars for this crap. But crucially, as we open the film slate, sure, we might have joked about Avatar, but there were actually some other really good films in cinemas this month. It was Damien Chazelle who got things going with Babylon, a very critical ripping apart of Hollywood in its heyday, as well as its franchise-heavy future. A very, very topical point, considering what would go on to happen just 4 months after this film came out in England. With fellow openers this month, including the English remake of A Man Called Uwe, albeit it's A Man Called Otto for the Hollywood version, Spielberg's heartfelt look into his childhood and the discovery of the art of cinema with Oscar-bait The Fabelmans, surprisingly successful Indian Hindi thriller Patan, even more surprisingly successful horror Megan, Sam Mendes' love letter to the UK cinema industry with Empire of Light, and even Gerard Butler doing his thing on a plane. Considering where we were just 12 months prior, it is a miracle we had that much on the big screen in cinemas for people to enjoy. And I was very, very happy. Now, if we thought 2022 was the year of the strike, well, we hadn't seen nothing yet.
Disruptions are expected in the UK today, where up to 500,000 workers are expected to walk off the jobs. Teachers, civil servants, train drivers, and college lecturers in parts of the UK are striking over their continued calls for better pay.
It was all out carnage as every single strike you could think of hit at the exact same time. But of course, we're British. We just shrugged our shoulders and got on with it, like we always do. It's not like any of them would go for 117 days or anything crazy like that. Uh-oh. With the first school holidays of the year, animated films once again got a moment in the spotlight as DreamWorks put out Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, one of the finest sequels they have ever released to any of their films, taking them back to their glory days for a fleeting moment. You know the animation scene is good when DreamWorks can literally say, screw it, we're going back to the strike universe. And by God, it delivered and then some. The same, however, can't be said for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Oh boy, Marvel had a rough cinema run this year with 2 of their major releases tanking. We'll get to the second bomb a little bit later on. but their quantity over quality approach these last few years has really backfired big time. And we're not even going to mention Secret Invasion. Good Lord! Honestly, I enjoyed Cocaine Bear of all things more than I did Ant-Man. That says it all. And yes, you did hear me right. That is a film about a bear who does cocaine based on a true story from the 80s. You really couldn't make this stuff up. 2023's films were weird, wonderful, and sometimes downright bonkers. Outside of cinemas, there was a lot of good TV going on as well, as UK audiences finally got to enjoy Craig Mazan's fantastic adaptation of The Last of Us for HBO. A lot of the UK stayed up until the early hours of a Sunday morning just to watch it without having it spoiled by the Americans who got to see it first. And understandably, it's been greenlit for a second series. Can they do a good job of adapting Last of Us Part 2 for TV? Only time will tell. Plus, in sport, for those who follow the American football, some Chiefs from Kansas won the Super Bowl. And in news itself, the BBC gutted its entire news service to prepare for a world feed of sorts. To be fair, February was a month of change in general at the BBC, as beloved BBC Radio 2 presenter Ken Bruce announced his departure for Bauer's Greatest Hits network, and Bolton's own Vernon Kay taking over the old slot, keeping the show format, but minus a certain pop master. There's getting with the times, and there's getting on the wrong side of gatekeepers. This falls right in the middle. Ken's got an established audience. Vern is the one my generation grew up with on T4. So it's a bit like getting Scott Mills to replace Steve Wright on afternoons. Radio 1 generation's growing up. BAFTA also did their thing this month, with All Quiet on the Western Front becoming the de facto favourite within film Twitter. And it was an alright ceremony this year. Like, Richard E. Grant was okay, the Alison Hammond bits weren't quite... They weren't hitting, they were going after the viewing figures. The nominations became wins, and in typical Blue Peter style, here's something we made earlier. Adapted screenplay went to All Quiet on the Western Front. Cinematography, it went to James Friend for All Quiet on the Western Front. Outstanding direction went to Edward Berger for All Quiet on the Western Front. Another win for All Quiet on the Western Front to take it up for foreign film. Original score and sound editing went to All Quiet on the Western Front. And with 7 BAFTA wins, the clear favourite going into the Oscars, winning Best Film, All Quiet on the Western Front. It is bonkers to see how Netflix films are being recognised at this level. It's a thing. 2.5 years ago, we were all bickering over the theatrical window, and here they are now, dominating award shows. But one story got the attention of our Prime Minister, of all things.
The classic books of children's author Roald Dahl will remain on shelves after publisher Puffin announced the release of censored versions.
With Netflix's buyout of the Roald Dahl company complete, the Americans had started to meddle with the books, rewriting them to be, well, a little bit more reflective of modern society, they claimed. Look, I know Dahl's books were very much of their time, and still are. And I love the original Dahl work. But there's messing with the spirit of the book, and there's just changing things to make it. March was a good month to be called Jamie Carragher.
Now Salah, it's 6. Oh, that's the one they wanted. That is the cherry on the icing on the cake.
It was also a very good month to be a Sale fan, but we'll get to that. But it was also a very rough month for governmental 4G truth deniers, as we seem to call them here at Smit HQ. As in a 1-2 punch, they launched the emergency alert system and began the process of winding down the ever-present NHS contact tracing app that most of us seemed to delete in the summer of 2022. So I guess you could say it was swapping one ping-demic for another ping-demic. Plus, social media reared its ugly head again as BBC Sport pundits went on a strike of sorts following the tweets of a certain crisp-loving presenter. You know the one, breaching impartiality guidelines set out by the corporation, ones which were understandably tightened in light of Mr. Lineker's actions.
Now on BBC One, we're sorry that we're unable to show our normal match of the day, including commentary tonight.
Crucially, Match of the Day went on air without presenters, Women's Super League and Premier League coverage was hit, and a variety of sport was subject to a 48-hour walkout. And, well, as I write this and as I record this, he's in hot water again for yet more comments on Twitter. Will he ever learn? This story's probably going to roll on into 2024 now, Mother. This year's Oscars also came and went, and just like the BAFTAs, here's something we made earlier. We had the rise of Daniels, the redemption of Brendan Fraser, and the return to a controversy-free telecast. I suppose you could say it was a Triple R affair. Genuinely can't get nasty out of my head. It was an Oscars that felt like it's trying to find its place in the modern awards landscape. And fair play to Glenn Weiss and the directing team who made the show happen last night. It was a good show. Outstanding performance by lead actor. I say this every year, Oscar voters like to make people suffer. People thought Austin Butler was going to win. But Austin didn't quite suffer for his art as much as Brendan Fraser did. I mean, The Whale is not an easy film to watch. At all. But it's his performance that sells it. I know a lot of people said it works better as a stage show. I can understand that. But this is the completion of the redemption arc. He was blacklisted from Hollywood for many years. This is the culmination of his proper journey back to the top. And it is going to be good to see him back in proper good films again. He's made a lot of lesser fare over the years. He's not been in much. But Fraser is back. And then for outstanding performance by lead actress, well, there was only really one favourite. She won it. Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once. First Asian woman to win Best Actress at the Oscars. And backed up by its Best Picture win. Everything Everywhere All at Once is the de facto king of Hollywood right now. Everyone fell in love with it when it came out last April. Everyone fell in love with it even more when it started getting the awards love. And everyone fell in love with it again when it held off All Quiet on the Western Front, a bona fide war film, which not really an easy sell for audiences, and importantly, theatrical exclusive, to win the biggest award in the industry. And 6 others. There's All Quiet on the Western Front won 4 of them, Everything Everywhere All at Once won 7. No real surprises from the show to report on. Now, on to the fun stuff, I guess. DC's poor run of form continued with Shazam! Fury of the Gods, a film so bad it even made me question my opinions of the cinema where I actually watched it at. Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves brought the beloved tabletop game to the big screen properly, while also bringing to an end Entertainment One's run as a distributor here in England because they've been shut down and Paramount took over the rights, but it got the feel of the game right, and that is what that fan base wanted. And John Wick Chapter 4 also continued the fine form of the series with its brutal action and just Keanu being Keanu. Now I have to say, as a Sale fan, one particular scene stood out to me. Not because of the action, but because of this. Take it away, Gus.
Stop your engine!
Yes, it might have done things which could prevent Keanu from coming back. But who cares? It was a bloody good film. It's a big, bold action movie that took things to a levity stupid, which is what the industry needed coming out of COVID-19. A big, bold film to get audiences back in those, well, let's be real, seats very much like these, because a lot of them have got recliners now. But in the tech world, those fine folks at OpenAI unleashed ChatGPT on the world, bringing with it lots of perfectly fine, wholesome, legal and safe ways to implement AI into everyday practice.
Think of it as Google, but with more human-like features.
Kids could use this to grade something which a teacher could probably not identify as not having been written by a human.
You should see the essay. I had it right for me comparing Julius Caesar to Regina George from Mean Girls. It was very, very good. Five paragraphs came up like that.
I can't see that platform really taking off. It's an overrated gimmick. As the final prep for the coronation began, the question amongst the UK was, who's going? Who's playing the concert? And, well, who's going to get absolutely wasted on the bank holiday weekend? Royal fever had once again taken over the nation, not even a year removed from the Jubilee. And, well, it was unavoidable. Even took the edge off Jeff Stelling announcing he was leaving Soccer Saturday for real this time.
I mean, this is tricky, because I've changed my mind. Just kidding, haven't changed my mind this time.
20 years on that show, and now he moves on. Sports really changed this year, I guess. Finance and the fine folks at HSBC continued their rather unique marketing campaigns with Richard Ayoade and a very, very clever use of a certain F word.
Fees.
Oh, Richard!
The F word in travel.
Oh!
With an HSBC Global Money account, you can drop fees from Acapulco to Zurich. That means no fees here.
Censored swearing is funnier. Even Charlie Brooker agrees with me. Even if it's just the word fees. Oh, voodoo.
No fees here. Where is here? And you guessed it, no fees here. No fee. This is your phone. You don't work here. Nice to meet you.
HSBC have the most ridiculous ads, don't they? Never change. Cinemas continue to showcase a variety of product going into April. Fast 10 brought faster and even more furious action to cinema screens, as well as people asking just when will it end, Vin? We might have our answer to that question if this legal case picks up traction in 2024. Right then, Past Jack, get all the wipe, will you? The unlikely pilgrimage of Harold Fry showcased what happened to the British industry's ability to even greenlight decent films post-Covid. The team behind BBC Free comedy We Are Lady Parts released feature film Polite Society. And the continued renaissance of Nicolas Cage continued, even if audiences hated the film, with Renfield. Plus, for the kids, there was one film that was way better than it had any right to be, with the Super Mario Brothers movie. Now, we'd love to show footage, but we're going with stills because we know how litigious Nintendo can be for people using their IP, apparently. And, well, I say apparently, it's true. Nintendo did once buy the rights to an adult parody of the Mario franchise, just so it could never get released. And here's me thinking that UEFA taking down 2021 wipe because we used footage from the Euros was petty. But for our American mates, after a long time hosting late night, April was the month where James Corden finally decided to come home. To many of the American audience, Corden lasted way longer than anyone had hoped he would last. 8 years on the Late Late Show, becoming one of the most tenured hosts on American late night television. But the last show was typical Corden, really.
But I sit here now today with nothing but love, gratitude and pride. This show is everything. It is everything I ever wanted it to be. And
now go write to some Gavin and Stacey, James. Of course, there's only one place to start for the month of May as the UK watched on for one major event. A true once-in-a-generation moment.
God save the King! God save the King!
That Saturday in May was one of pure legend as Charles III took up the throne officially in a weekend of patriotic celebrations so big that it made the Jubilee look pretty tame in comparison. And while it was steeped in tradition, the weekend had modern elements too, including yet another big Gary Barlow concert, many events, and of course, unlike 1952, all sport going ahead as scheduled, even with adjusted kick-off times. But it didn't hit cinema too much though, because it was a cracker of a month. James Gunn brought the curtain down on his Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy in fantastic style, even if some elements, particularly the Rocket Raccoon backstory, pushed audiences a little bit to the edge. I mean, it was a heavy film for a 12A. And speaking of Disney, their fetish for remaking animated films into live action continued, with their reboot of The Little Mermaid, which, well, got it right for fans of the original, but did we even need a reboot of Little Mermaid? Let alone a live-action version? Sometimes the decisions of Disney baffle even me. I need something to calm me down. I need something to really calm me down.
So the moment the bulk of this crowd has been waiting for a couple of hours now, packed to the rafters, sharks or tigers, sink or swim.
Well, this will do just nicely. Let me get my uniform on for this. Rugby history was made in the North this month as for the first time in 16 years, Sale Sharks reached the promised land of the Premiership playoffs, crucially at their home stadium in Salford. It's been an outstanding year for the Sharks, crowds increasing considerably, cracking form when it's been needed, and a second place league finish getting them a home semi-final against Leicester Tigers in arguably the finest game I have watched at the AJ Bell Stadium. Sorry, the Salford Community Stadium as I have to call it as of a few weeks ago. Literally, as we were filming this wipe, the signage came off the North Stand. So that's the name of the stadium, I guess. It'll always be the Bell, right? So in front of a very loud and vocal stadium, could the boys get into a Premiership final and rewrite 16 years of hurt? Let's have a look, shall we?
Rob De Priya, an overlap, Carpenter. First try of the semi-final here goes to the Sale Sharks.
Leicester having to really defend at every point of attack. Ford's pass finds Reed on the half volley, and Reed will score in the left-hand side for Sale, and the Sharks lead once more at the AJ Bell.
Sale lead by 5. Leicester will be down 2 scores if Ford makes this kick with just 11 minutes to play, and this would be a hammer blow, even though they've just avoided going another try down.
Ford gets underneath it slightly, but has he got enough on it? Yes, he has.
Picks it up, gives it to Ross. Listen to the crowd. They're counting us down, second by second. The ball back to no one other but George Ford, who has masterminded this performance. And Sale Sharks book themselves into a Premiership final.
2 weekends later, my mate Alex Sanderson, his squad and at least 35,000 loud and proud Northerners made the pilgrimage to HQ in a sea of blue for the big one. Sale versus Saracens in the Gallagher Premiership final. And while it was a cracker of a game,
Curry looking this way and that and finds Van der Merwe, and he makes the break. Oh, it was ambitious. And there were lots of white shirts there, but the ball's still loose, and laid back, and still Rod scoring.
Especially being at Twickers for it. One moment defined the whole afternoon. Now, considering how much the tickets were and how little security there actually was at Twickenham, I'm not surprised Tom Curry did that. While it ended in heartbreak for the Sharks, the 22-23 season proved, if anything, that 3 little words that were emblazoned on shirts to raise funds for our women's team, who were ultimately saved by way of a crowdfunder, were more apt than ever. Northern Rugby Matters. technology, and not content with taking over the commercial reel on every single film for the summer, Samsung decided to promote their lovely Neo QLED televisions in a way that only they knew how.
Wow. Did you just see wow?
Cats promoting tellies. Like, it makes no sense. He's underwater as well. Doesn't even look like that great of a telly.
Wow.
I don't get this. And speaking of TVs, lots happened on the small screen, both in front of and behind the camera.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the BBC News at 10, live from the Liverpool waterfront on the eve of the Eurovision Song Contest.
Liverpool played host to the Eurovision Song Contest on behalf of Ukraine, with Mel Giedroyc becoming a bit of a cult hero, Hannah Waddingham just being Hannah Waddingham, and Graham Norton being his sarcastic best.
Graham! Are you okay up there? TV.
Apologies for that.
Ultimately, Sweden won the whole thing with Green again, but it was so good to see a city I know incredibly well once again be at the heartbeat of European culture. It's almost like they were capital of culture back in 2008. A worthy host for a fantastic show. But over in the commercial sector, things were not as rosy for ITV.
We have some breaking news to bring you, and that is about Philip Schofield, the former presenter of ITV's This Morning programme, because this evening he has quit the broadcaster, and that follows further allegations about his private life.
Following a string of high-profile and legally unreportable allegations, Philip Schofield was dropped by his agent and unceremoniously removed from the public spotlight in rather humiliating fashion. Some would say that they were treating him as if he died, which, well, considering the allegations that were coming his way, his career had suffered that fate. The fallout was nasty for all involved on and off screen, with the first episode of This Morning back for his supposed best friend Holly Willoughby not doing him any favours.
Right, deep breath. Firstly, are you okay? I hope so. Feels very strange indeed sitting here without Phil.
I haven't been more okay since the broom cupboard was Operation Utrade. Something always felt off about it.
I hope that as we start this new chapter and get back to a place of warmth and magic that this show holds for all of us, we can find strength in each other.
Well, she's a two-faced bitch, isn't she?
As the dust settled on the 22-23 season, once again, the rugby world wasn't shown in the greatest of lights. After a failed takeover bid and just 8 days on from Saracens lifting the trophy at Twickenham, London Irish followed Worcester and Wasps out of the league and into administration due to financial difficulties.
Monday to Friday off the pitch, you're firefighting, trying to get the league in shape, trying to get the future of the game in shape, participation, governance, finance. So those are issues that are going to need to be addressed long into the summer and beyond, and they need to be because they're very, very important.
And things only went from bad to worse later on in the year as championship team Jersey Reds also suffered the same fate. 3 clubs in a single season. I don't think any of us wanted that. It's been rough off field, arguably rougher than the cinema industry in some aspects. They got their 10-team league as they wished, I guess. And before I hit the films, I've been asked by 2 members of our production team to mention the fact that, yes, Manchester City won the treble this month. At least one blue top-flight team in Manchester won their domestic tournament this year. So much so that Sale actually borrowed Manchester City blue for their away kit for the upcoming season. Yes, really, they did. But who even gives a It was a good month for cinema in June. We had a lot. With the summer holidays looming and various different challenges for the operational side of cinemas, the distributors had no other choice but to put out all of the big guns throughout the month. So much so that there's quite a lot of them to run down in such a short amount of time. And I'm going to have to rattle all of this off from the trusty script. Sony brought us an absolute corker of a film with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And wow, that is how you do a cliffhanger in an animated film. And on top of that, Daniel Pemberton's score. Like, that guy knows how to make a banger. Horror fans got a brand new take on the Boogeyman from Disney and Fox. Paramount opened Michael Bay free effort Transformers Rise of the Beasts, which did alright, but not great box office business. The controversial release of DC's The Flash all but destroyed a lot of fans' hopes for a good finish to the DCEU, even with Michael Keaton's return to the universe just to work with a talent whose rap sheet with the LAPD is so checkered that it would resemble a full novel.
Alleged kidnapping, as well as a myriad of other alleged crimes and assaults and all kinds of unpleasant things. That's not empty calories. Those are pretty serious things.
Not even Ezra Miller could save that film, let's be honest about it. Take That musical Greatest Days opened and promptly bombed, even with the Amazon money, and J-Law romanced a young guy and got her kit off, on her own terms, unlike the supposed leaks back in the day, for comedy No Hard Feelings.
Hi, mind if I touch your wiener?
What?
Your dog.
And that's just scratching the surface of the weird and wonderful that played cinemas in June. Wes Anderson went full Wes Anderson in fictional play inside of the film Asteroid City. Fans of 70-year-olds making big action adventures, Jerry Action as I like to call it, got to see Harrison Ford take on that iconic role one last time in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and DreamWorks opened their latest major IP and returned to their usual cookie-cutter style of filmmaking, with Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken. It felt like June was the month to open the big films this year. And there was a very good reason why. You could say that blockbuster season had arrived a full month early, almost as if there was something truly big, loud, nuclear, and dare I say a little pink on the horizon. July was a real battle for big screen attention, even with temperatures high enough to make operating cinemas a real challenge, because 30 degrees. Come on, man. 3 films fought for the box office crown this summer. So, let's introduce the challenges, shall we? The first, Fighting, out of Universal City, Los Angeles, coming in at a budget of $99 million and weighing in at 11 miles of film, accompanied to the ring by an atomic bomb, we got Oppenheimer. Next, Fighting out of Venice, Abu Dhabi, and the Alps by way of Paramount Los Angeles at approximately $300 million. The modern-day miracle of Scientology and his new talent, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. And finally, Fighting out of the Warner Brothers backlot by way of Barbie World, coming in at a budget of $145 million, with social media by its side. Barbie. Ladies and gentlemen, for the hundreds in attendance and the thousands of people watching this around the world, let's get ready to watch them! It was Barbenheimer against Mission Impossible for cinema dominance. And what a time to be alive. Tom Cruise literally said, "I'm gonna jump off a cliff for the benefit of cinema," only for Christopher Nolan to laugh at him and drop a bomb. Literally. Look, let's stop the joking around. These are 3 very different films for 3 very different audiences. Mission Impossible skewed towards that mainstream action-loving hybrid of the 15 to 24 age demographic. A demographic who'd grown up on Tom Cruise jumping off buildings, casually doing things that no man could ever dare dream of. Whereas Oppenheimer brought with it the biopic nature, the true story, and moments which reminded people of the Fallout video games.
And now I have become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Because who didn't think of the megaton explosion when the bomb test happened? But with Barbie, it felt like something completely different. A film for all the family. And a film that can be described with just 3 simple words. Yes, millions of Barbies took their Kens to watch Greta Gerwig's latest effort on the big screen where it rightfully belonged. And sure, Mattel might have had a lot of involvement in it, but the audience responses went down an absolute storm. That was unless you were in this little audience in Brazil, where things went from bad to worse because someone was on their phone. But as we all expected, Barbie would win that fight. We knew it would. Breaking $1 billion in record time, Greta Gerwig's feminist dream, which actually played into that idea really well, dominated the summer box office. And everything was all good in the cinema world again. Roll the credits, cut, print. That's right, done. Hang on. Oh wait, Empire Cinemas have just folded.
Oh no. Anyway.
As well as the Barbenheimer hype, cinemas also had new horror to tuck into, as the Philippine Boys gave us the mighty Talk to Me, and an associated bit of score that's become a bit of a trend on TikTok ever since. Plus, the folks at Pixar put out their first cinema-exclusive film for years with Elemental, giving audiences of all ages something to watch in what would prove to be one of the biggest summers on record for UK cinemas. But as ever in TV and the wider media landscape, all was not well at the BBC. Again. In scenes that only the tabloid media could fetishise, a high-profile name within the BBC was accused of paying a 17-year-old for photos that we legally can't describe. We also can't name him, even though his wife revealed who it was, for fear of further legal reasons. There's also the small matter of new upstart social media platform X, which is legally not Twitter. It's not Twitter, okay? Inheriting God knows how many users as Elon Musk's mission to create an everything everywhere app, an EE app actually. That reminds me, I've not had a look on BT Sport for a while.
BT Sport.
Feels like home. BT Sport, the home of the rugby. Hang on, wait, didn't they get bought out this year?
It's time for SmackDown with all your...
They got bought out, didn't they?
Have you heard? BT Sport is changing to TNT Sports from July the 18th.
What?
But what does this mean? Well, we'll still be bringing you all these epic moments. You don't need to do anything, your subscription will just switch over. You can still watch it on TV or on a new streaming home, Discovery Plus. Look at this boy! So, you don't want to miss this. That was my line. TNT Sports, available on TV and Discovery Plus from the 18th of July.
They've rebranded! And they're making us pay 30 quid a month for it! But not even 10 hours into the existence of TNT Sports, the mechanics decided to take it off air. Which was pretty hilarious, to be honest. Understandably, the Barbenheimer double bill had taken most cinema screens out of action for a good few weeks. New releases were more limited than usual for a big chunk of the summer because of this. But when the new films for August did roll in, we had a very mixed bag. Gran Turismo adapted the iconic PlayStation racer in relatively fine fashion, and Haunted Mansion was, well, if you don't know the ride, you won't understand it. If you do know the ride, you'll love it. But if you're watching it just as a film, it's hilariously bad because of this.
The only thing available to us is this French vanilla Yankee candle.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to cancel my subscription to Amazon, so...
Please, hold hands.
There's product placement, and then there's taking a joke and absolutely destroying it. Shame on you, Disney. Mercifully, the family market did get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, a very faithful version of the franchise, spearheaded by eternal teenager Seth Rogen, making a rare film where he's not under the influence of recreational drugs.
Whatever the truth was, it transformed us.
Spoke too soon. And on the topic of speaking too soon, comedy film Joyride became a bit of a low-key banger within local cinemas, namely due to a scene that we'd have to stick a big old spoiler warning if we even dared talk about it on the wipe. It's a film that you have to see to believe. Just for that particular moment. If you've seen the film, the tattoo. The tattoo. That's all I'm going to say. The tattoo. And while there were plenty of big Hollywood blockbusters, British independent films were getting a lot of love too, as Charlotte Regan's debut directorial feature, Scrapper, opened on a very limited release following Odeon Screen Unseen screenings. This is a film that I think is going to get a lot of love from BAFTA in a couple of weeks' time. When it makes its way onto BBC iPlayer, seek this one out. It's kitchen sink drama for a new generation. But while the industry was besotted with Barbenheimer, a storm was brewing, one which could ultimately derail 3 years of fantastic growth coming out of COVID-19.
America's film and TV industry is expected to grind to a halt today as tens of thousands of Hollywood actors join screenwriters in the first industry-wide strike in more than 60 years. The Screen Actors Guild has been calling on studios and streaming companies to agree to increase fees for repeats, and it wants assurances about the use of artificial intelligence. The shutdown will affect all productions employing members of the union, even if they're outside the US.
SAG-AFTRA's national board unanimously voted to issue a strike order against the studios and streamers.
A storm brought on by the rise of ChatGPT made the Screen Actors Guild join their writing counterparts on the picket lines, bringing with it some major disruption to how the studios release their films. Red carpets, promo and general media were off limits. Even Halloween outfits were banned for the stars, creating an interesting situation for major releases, as their stars could no longer promote the films and their new content in the conventional means. Some relied heavily on their directors to promote them, others used costumed characters, but most forewent the PR loop and used their fans to do the dirty work that us critics have to do, of shilling the films, even if they are crap. Nobody was safe. Even with the actors' strike, Hollywood was grounded and things became dry. Even the Broadway award shows got hit hard earlier in the year because of this, with Ariana DeBose doing the thing unscripted at the Tonys because of the writers' strike. This complete shutdown was very bad news for Warner Brothers, as they needed the stars to help promote DC's penultimate big film, Blue Beetle. Yes, they pushed on with it either way, and it became victim to the Zaslav regime, even though it was a relatively okay film. At least it actually made it out, unlike Batgirl and some of the other films that they shelved for tax reasons. But back here where people could promote films, there was also the small matter of the Lytham International Film Festival, spearheaded by our old mates at Beyond the Bar. And we learned a lot over a fantastic weekend of independent short and feature films from around the world. Namely about the culture of Hong Kong within Jackie Chung's debut feature, The Entrepot, for which I was able to ask a direction to Chung directly.
Obviously it's a subtitled film. A lot of mainstream British cinemas don't really get this kind of thing. What kind of things are you wanting audiences to take away from this film coming out of the festival circuit, and how are you going to sort of build upon those skills going forward in your future work?
Thank you for your sharing. What I would like the audience get from the film, as I think it's same as mentioned before that, I hope audience watch this film will be more understanding why. When you are living in the UK, you can see some Asian face or some Hong Kong face. Maybe we will have a more understanding why they are here, why they choose to leave their home and then they move to here.
We also found out how today in a modern society and really damn good student musical short, Heart Failure, took in a rather neat horror-infused musical in Stuffed, and most importantly, witnessed a completely different meaning to the words, "Oh, I'm going off to play with my flute," in 9-minute short gross-out comedy The Flute. And you can watch these shorts right here on YouTube, believe it or not. You can have a little look in the description to find them. Think of it as a late Christmas, early New Year, 10th anniversary gift from us here at TheJackSmit.com, because we've got absolutely no clue when this is going out. They also showcased a lot of incredibly polished university shorts at Lytham, like A Little Glass of Rum, British productions like Midnight Ride, and a variety of other short and feature films, both narrative and experimental, from all corners of the globe. By the way, filmmakers, I know a lot of you watch The Wipe, and I know a lot of you watch TheJackSmit.com content. Submissions are open for 2024. Go and impress them. If you've got a good film and you want it shown, and as long as it's a cracker, get it submitted. Go on. Tell them Jack Smit sent you. Banking now, and as part of their long-term campaign to promote their brand before films, NatWest booked a takeover of the Silver Spot, best known as the last advert before the trailers, with Gran Turismo.
It takes confidence to chase your dreams. From gamer to racer, from watching movies to making them.
NatWest is doing a Gran Turismo tie-in.
Gave a group of young filmmakers the chance to recreate a scene from the movie, showing you need to believe it to become it.
That's pretty cool.
Everyone's got a passion. We just want to make movies.
Today made it feel real, that this is something I can actually do.
Not on £6,000 budget, can they?
To get where you want to be, you need skills. Financial, creative, all sorts.
It's big, but it's possible.
I'm kind of excited to watch the movie now just because I've touched the car, the prop in the Gran Turismo movie.
You don't call it the Gran Turismo movie, it's just Gran Turismo.
Kid who plays video games in their bed.
Shameless promo for the film, of course.
Strap them to a 200-mile-an-hour rocket.
That's what I'm talking about! Get the confidence to kickstart your future with NatWest Thrive.
That's one of the better integrations for a film into Silver Spot thing that DCM have done lately. Could be worse. Could be that annoying Samsung advert from earlier. But away from film, a summer of sport took a lot of minds off the strikes, especially in light of yet another Ashes draw with the Aussies. And of course, our Lioness is charged to try and win the FIFA Women's World Cup. Now, we'd love to actually talk about stuff like the performances, the final, aside from the whole Hermoso moment, because quite frankly, you don't want to be giving morons like that guy the light of the day. And obviously, Mary Earps going full Jill Scott and bellowing out swear words down the barrel of a camera, giving lip readers a nightmare. I mean, can we get away with showing it as a GIF on here? If it's just appeared, yes we can. But because of stupid FIFA rules, we can't actually show footage from the games. Believe me, we tried, it's too risky. We learned the hard way making 2021 wipe that using footage from football tournaments is an absolute no-go. But this whole summer of sport got my generation absolutely wasted in the pubs. So Amazon did the next best thing and brought the original Hangover TV back for a new generation. Yes, the Mad Guys brought Fall Guys wannabe Takeshi's Castle back to TV screens after 30 years off air in its original form. But they did it a little bit wrong. They didn't get Craig Charles, which in my opinion is absolute sacrilege. Instead, they got Ramesh Ranganathan and his mate Tom Davis.
Oh, you'll love to see this, Rom. It's the Krabby Shuffle, mate.
The Krabby Shuffle there, coincidentally what my uncle did it to a clinic once, a few years ago. Got it cleared right up though.
Nice. Is he okay now?
I've got no idea, I'm not in touch with him now.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, even I groaned when they announced that. Right, lots to cover this month, strap yourself in. The creator opened strongly for an original, if a bit poorly written, $60 million sci-fi film. Yes, you heard me right, $60 million. And it looks like a bigger blockbuster. Is it madness or just good filmmaking? You be the judge. Celine Song directed effort Past Lives opened and picked up a lot of love from the old Letterboxd community as it made its way around the world, cementing a solid debut film for the director. Denzel wrapped up his Equalizer trilogy in a bruising third entry that held all the grit of the first two with a proper emotional payoff for the Robert McCall character. Plus, for the first time since they worked together on 2004's critically ripped apart Man on Fire, Washington got to share a screen with a now grown-up Dakota Fanning. Proof, if proof be needed, that Denzel knows outstanding acting talent when he sees it. Dumb Money proved that even the craziest stories can have a home on the big screen, even if Sev's story inspired the stock manipulation that made AMC's return to stability post-COVID happen. Yeah, the Reddit lot are strange. And Mr. Branagh once again donned the moustache to return to the Poirot universe with A Haunting in Venice, a more horror-oriented film than Orient and Nile. He still couldn't find a better moustache though, could he? Right, now the bit I've been looking forward to. Time to get all nosy in this joint. 4 years on from Sia Khaleesi lifting a Webb Ellis Cup for the box in Japan, it was time to do it all again. And aside from copyright issues for those who want to cover the game, and a cheekbone injury for the French player that everyone had built their hopes for the tournament around, the pool stage of the Rugby World Cup gave us a good 5 weeks of pure, unadulterated filth. 48 matches over a tournament that lasted just under 3 months. And somehow I was able to watch 47 and a half of them live. England's journey began with a brain fart from the Shark.
Curry's gone. A yellow 2 minutes and 59 seconds into England's opening match at this World Cup.
Followed by a moment, or 3, from a fellow Shark.
Ford, drop goal. Off she goes. Through she goes. There's a long one from halfway. My goodness, it's high. Handsome! George Ford! What on earth is he doing?
Go on, Fordy!
Max. Oh, there's another one! It's another one! It's a third George Ford drop goal!
And then a Harlequin channeled his inner Brighton footballer a week later against Japan.
And I take huge inspiration from Robert De Zerbi and his Mighty Seagulls doing a demolition job on United yesterday.
Look, there was a bit of goodness for anyone and everyone within the pool stage, but undoubtedly the pools belonged to one team. In their head, they were fighting, and my God, the Irish travelled well. So, Zombie is a rugby anthem now. Didn't have that on the bingo card. The Sharks kept on coming during the pool stage as only 4 teams made it out of the pools unbeaten. Australia, remember them? Failing to make it out of the pool after hiring rugby's disaster merchant Eddie Jones, a coach who's become so laughable that even Tommy Wiseau wouldn't dare make a film about him.
So you blokes think you can win the whole thing? Mate, we're not going to France for the croissants.
And in one last fantastic moment, Portugal, who barely made the World Cup by way of qualification, picked up their very first win at a World Cup against Pacific Island favourites Fiji. And throughout the tournament became cult heroes because of their hooker, Mike Tanja. I mean, since when did you get front rowers who could kick like that? Johnny Hill, hold that guy's beer.
Johnny Hill, let's fly.
Is that a tight spiral?
It's a torpedo. Look at that. Have a bit of that.
But back in the non-egg-shaped world, the alternative media news outlets were making news themselves. As Dan Wootton, formerly of The Sun and now of GB News, or to give it its street name, GBBs, said his career fall apart because, to put it simply, he didn't do his job ethically or legally for that matter. This was on top of comments that he allowed a fellow GB News contributor to make on his programme. Understandably, Ofcom stepped in, they did what they did, lo and behold, he loses his show, he loses his GB News job. I've been told by lawyers to say that he claims that he did no wrong and he believes he was the victim of a smear campaign. But he worked for Rebecca Brooks, the queen of the phone hack! And in similar events, the month of September also seen the downfall of Russell Brand, as Channel 4 dispatches aired their major and incredibly heavy investigation into the behaviour of the now disgraced comedian.
In the beginning, there were 4 sexual offence allegations against the comedian Russell Brand and no police investigation. Now, Scotland Yard says they've received a number more and they are investigating in London and elsewhere in the country.
These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies, and as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual.
Fucking bullshit!
Look, there's no place for that. Anywhere. Simple as that. Wellness supplements now, and the fine folks at Yakult put out a commercial that was so nightmare fuel and meme oriented that it took me by surprise when I seen it before a film at the local cinema. Yakult. Decent drink. Oh no! I've seen some strange ads.
Increases the bacteria in the gut. Yakult.
Oh, that's next level! Sadly, there's only one thing we can lead on this month.
Who are Hamas? Well, its name is an Arabic acronym for Islamic Resistance Movement. It's sworn to Israel's destruction, and its base is Gaza. It's been in control there since 2007.
There are quite regularly eruptions in the conflict, specifically between Hamas, which controls Gaza, and Israel. So this hasn't come out of nowhere, but the surprise is the way that Hamas executed its attack on Israel.
In the long term, this attack will reshape how they seek to maintain Israel's security.
Now, I hate having to cover stuff like this on the white. We want to try and keep it light, easily digestible, nothing too heavy. Because sometimes escape from the outside world is all we really need. So, what's on telly then? The so-called ultimate social experiment came back on ITV this month, making Big Brother one of the first programmes on UK commercial television to have aired on all of the major free-to-air platforms. Started on Channel 4, had a go down on 5, and then, well, a Love Island takeover on ITV.
And like all famous faces, it has had a 2023 glow-up ready for a brand new series.
And on top of that, we had, well, a mixed bag of films. Eras tour aside, of course, because that's an event, not a narrative film. It's my wipe, it's my rules, and I will fight you if you don't agree. Michael Caine rode off into the sunset with The Great Escaper. Mr. Scorsese did what he does best with Leonardo DiCaprio in Killers of the Flower Moon. Beloved horror game Five Nights at Freddy's finally got its big screen version with Scott Cawthon at the helm and became a surprise box office success, which even took me by surprise. DreamWorks put out the third Trolls film in Trolls Band Together, proving that they are getting even more shameless at shilling IP that, quite frankly, should have been done after one film. And Adam Deacon once again tried to satirise modern British society with Some Otherhood, a film which didn't take itself seriously. The only good thing about it was this moment.
Allow it, Wasteman.
Yes, that is Jeremy Corbyn saying "allow it, Wasteman" in a comedy film. This has been a strange year, all right. Back to the rugby though, and as the World Cup went on, we rattled 24 teams down to 8 for the start of the knockout stages. It ended up being Ireland against New Zealand, France against South Africa, Wales against Argentina, and England against Fiji.
Fiji beat England for the first time ever. All hail Fiji!
I got, well, no, Fiji, no, not after last time, not after last time, not after last time, not after last time. Argentina were the first to book their place in Paris for the semi-finals, but on the Saturday of quarter-final weekend, spectators in the Stade de France were treated to one of the finest games ever seen in World Cup history, as Ireland suffered yet another humiliating case of quarter-final dysfunction, because they still can't get a semi after 37 phases. I'm quite proud of that one. Sunday brought with it an England plus the return of the Gallagher Premiership, and a match so tense that even 3-second pint downer Luke Cowan-Dickey watched it with us mere mortals in a very cold Salford Community Stadium fan zone. An experience worth it for this one bit of magic from Courtney Laws.
Kuravoli. Courtney Laws is on it. Laws has got it! England have done it!
I can assure you that the roar in that little outdoor fan zone when that turnover happened was near deafening when we all seen it live. About as deafening as the 4,500 crowd we had for the game in the Premiership just before. And I almost forgot the roar that happened when the Chief, as we call him, went over for the first try in that quarter-final. And then France, the hosts, fell later that evening thanks to quite the performance from South Africa. Oh yeah, and this charge down.
It's been charged down by Cheslin Colby.
You don't get that in a global game that often. Semi-final weekend went about as predictably as you'd expect. The All Blacks absolutely walked over Argentina, as we all knew they would, booking them a place in our sports showpiece event. And as for England, they played the perfect game until the 78th minute when, oh God, do I have to mention him? Andre goddamn Pollard, a player that I'd seen in Salford just 3 weeks prior to that game, coming off the bench for Leicester in the Premiership Rugby Cup, knocking his teammates at club level out after a hefty injury struggle which started, funnily enough, the night we filmed the last shot of 2022 white. But the headlines of that final game came not with the result or the incredible turn of fortunes of a team who many said wouldn't even make it out of the pool stage on account of a really bad Six Nations and the coaching turmoil of Steve Borthwick coming in and replacing Eddie. But what followed on social media, that was the real headline. In scenes which resembled a witch hunt, Boca fans targeted England flanker Tom Curry for alleged comments made on field about their own Bongi and Benambi. Apparently the words on my whiteboard mean something very different in Afrikaans and the dark arts of the breakdown. White side is, I believe, what it translates as. Every day is a school day. The final could only be described in 4 simple words.
Fellas do know when scrums.
Red cards from referee Wayne Barnes, who would retire himself following this game. Injuries to the front rowers early on. South Africa's inspirational captain Siya Kolisi Sinbin, and a crucial misconversion and missed penalty from the All Blacks handed the Webb Ellis to Rassie Erasmus and his merry band of men for another 4 years. I don't think any of us are ready for what's going to happen next. The Boca did what they claimed they would, retained by any means, even after losing Bongi and having a back row retrain as a hooker. Jammy sides. November started with a look back to deepest, darkest COVID times, as the UK government's inquiry into the handling of the pandemic got underway. And serial Barnard Castle tourist Dominic Cummings kind of became a bit of a cult hero because of some WhatsApp messages he sent.
You called ministers useless fuckpigs, morons, cunts in emails and WhatsApps to your professional colleagues. Do you think you contributed to a lack of effectiveness on the part of ministers?
I agree that my language is deplorable, but as you can see for yourself, I deployed the same or worse language about the Prime Minister, Secretary of State and other people.
Thoughts and prayers with the people in TV news galleries that afternoon, having to censor that live with barely any notice. Meanwhile...
Breaking news. SAG-AFTRA appears to have ended the longest actors' strike in Hollywood history.
117 days on from the picket lines forming, SAG-AFTRA finally locked themselves in boardrooms to get a deal over the line. They got their protections from AI, they got intimacy coordination as the standard, they got their royalties, and crucially, they got the dark world of performance capture post-death regulated. So no more Carrie Fisher deepfakes for Star Wars films, I guess. Which of course meant that the deadlock on Hollywood content and promotion of it was lifted at last. Thank God, because November was a rough month for film. The Marvels was alright if you could tolerate Brie Larson, I guess. Hunger Games' Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes was decent if you knew the books. Wish could have been better if it wasn't too Easter egg heavy. I mean, it was Disney's 100th this year. I can see why they did the fan service, but did you really need to do a big film like that to celebrate it? Just stick it on Plus. Napoleon. Oh, now we're talking. Ridley Scott turned in yet another damn good film, if a little long and self-excessive, like Napoleon was himself, I guess. Joachim was great, Vanessa Kirby was great. Only Ridley Scott can make big historical epics like that. And we got bloody Gladiator 2 to look forward to next year. Oh! Hell, even the more weird and wonderful films like Emerald Fennell's Saltburn were getting a lot of love as the actors were allowed to start going back to promote projects. Saltburn is a very strange film that's just gone on Amazon Prime. So strange that we can't really show too much from it because it will spoil certain sequences. If you've seen the film, you will know what I mean when I talk about that bathtub scene. And on the small screen, it was just as much of a mixed bag. Amazon asked a big question of, what if we did James Bond, but with civilians? In 007 Road to a Million. And while it was okay for fans of the films, was it a really good fit for a game show?
The only thing standing in their way is me.
It was perfectly fine, but it could have been better. Even ITV brought back Deal or No Deal.
Welcome to the all-new Deal or No Deal. New host, new contestants, and even a brand new banker. But one little question remains the same. Deal or no deal?
No watching. But mercifully, Doctor Who was back to its best. With David Tennant back at the helm of the TARDIS and Ncuti Gatwa becoming the 15th Doctor in the show's first bi-generation. I see what you do there, Russell T Davies. I see what you've done. The 60th anniversary specials did what a good anniversary should do. Look back at the past and set up the future in big and exciting ways. Now I'm recording this before The Church on Ruby Road goes out, which is the Christmas special and Ncuti's first proper big adventure. I think the show's in good hands. Especially if you get to see Neil Patrick Harris doing stuff like this. I love a good needle drop. However, back with our friends at OpenAI, this was a very, very turbulent month for them. In the space of one weekend, they burned through not one, not two, but 3 CEOs.
The last 3 days have been unlike anything I've seen covering tech.
Hundreds of OpenAI employees are threatening to quit or follow their former bosses to Microsoft. The tech company scooped up OpenAI's co-founders Sam Altman and Greg Brockman after Altman was dismissed by the board.
What we're seeing now is the most valuable asset of an artificial intelligence firm is indeed its human capital. And once the founder leaves and the staff threaten to follow him, the value of that company plummets to the floor. And that's precisely what we're seeing right now.
So if OpenAI was Sam Altman's Skylab, the project that came down with a bang, the Microsoft boys might have just orchestrated one of the biggest technological coups in the entire history of the industry. Satya Nadella, take a bow, son. After all the film talent strikes concluded, the gaming industry returned with an almighty bang as Rockstar finally announced Grand Theft Auto 6. It's real, it's happening, it's coming out in 2025, and oh my god, it looks so good! And on top of that, the Game Awards became the de facto replacement for E3. Not that we didn't know that this was the case already. And with the ceremony so long that even Jeff Keighley was thinking, yeah, maybe rabbit up signs for speeches was a bad idea. Game of the Year went as expected to big fantasy RPG Baldur's Gate 3, beating the likes of Alan Wake 2 with its epic rock opera. Just look at how they staged it for the Game Awards. Spider-Man 2, the latest Resident Evil game, and even the new Mario and Zelda games. Goes to show how cool the RPG has got in recent years, especially D&D inspired ones. It's a big, bold, fleshed out, and just a well-made game. The perfect kind of thing you want to be winning Game of the Year. To be fair, this was a crazy few weeks for everything in every industry: media, TV, film, gaming. It was a month so crazy that a BBC News anchor managed to get away with doing this on air.
Live from London, this is BBC News.
Even fashion, as hell froze over and Chanel did a proper fashion show in a very cold northwest England. Yeah, they did a show in the northern quarter of Manchester. But in my domain, this was a dry Christmas for a change. The strikes had moved most films into 2024, so there wasn't much choice for screen content teams to programme for the festive period. The major films from Warner, Wonka and Aquaman 2, The Lost Kingdom as I've been told to call it, opened to, well, one got opened to pretty good reception, the other, we'll get to that. Wonka showcased Timothée Chalamet as a proper Swiss Army knife of talent. He can sing, he can dance, and he can carry a film. Thus, there was this.
I will have you know that I am a perfectly respectable size for an Oompa Loompa.
Only Paul King can make a film like this work so well. This is the man who gave us Paddington 2. So you knew it was going to be a good one, especially with Neil Hannon of the Divine Comedy. and, well, the Father Ted theme tune. A show which I still believe to be one of the finest comedies Channel 4 ever made. Making all the songs for it. And Aquaman, even with the review embargo being held back until the day it came out, struggled to find its crowd following a certain high-profile court case one of its stars lost in 2022. One which put a lot of the film's core audience off even wanting to support the film in the legal ways that most people watch their films these days. I imagine a lot of that audience will be sailing the 7 seas in order to watch it. Not that we'd condone such a thing. It was a bleak enough month for Warner because of Aquaman that they had to wheel out Alan Just Ken for a second time this year, but this time they did it as a Christmas EP, which apparently was all fair game. That was the toxicity surrounding Aquaman. They had to wheel out their big box office success just to get people interested in the studio again. Damn you, Amber Heard! And speaking of legal matters, over at Marvel, their luck in 2023 went from bad to worse, as the man they were building their entire future around was found guilty of the not-so-laughable matter of domestic violence. After being introduced to audiences as Kang back in February and having a major role in Creed 3, as well as a very, very big role in the latest series of Loki, Jonathan Majors was let go by Marvel Studios 4 days before Christmas and 3 days after we filmed the main portion of this thing. Thank God for pickups, hence the lighting changes, and leaving the entire MCU in flux for the next few years. Now, Avengers 5, as we film this, is currently untitled. Kevin Feige's probably in a boardroom somewhere in LA plotting out the entire future of the MCU, and crucially, is the entire multiverse saga now in tatters because of one man's actions. This is going to be a very big story to watch in 2025 when they return to multiple films a year. At least we had some redeeming quality, with Michael Mann's new film Ferrari opening on Boxing Day, even though many thought Penelope Cruz's Italian accent was worse than Lady Gaga's in House of Gucci. And we had the second film about the Presleys within an 18-month time span, as Sofia Coppola took on the life of Priscilla, with Kaylee Spaney and Jacob Elordi playing the titular wife and the king respectively. At least Jacob's been able to shake off the accent, unlike Austin Butler. Yeah, there was one final film that got my attention before kids' films this month. It was promoted a lot at View for some reason. Let me try and get it up on IMDb. It might have been called something like The Inseparables. Oh no. No, it's from N-Wave. It's from N-Wave. No. I'm not going there again. I am not going there again. No. The Queen's Corgi was bad enough.
Grab some puppy.
Alcoholic beverages now, and in an attempt to get round Ireland and the UK's rules on advertising the stuff on television, Guinness went unconventional in their attempts to promote their new Zero product. What? What are Guinness doing? There's beer advertising, and then there's being absolutely shameless. Which creative signed off on this? I don't know what to say to that, aside from the fact that some friends of mine spent Christmas in Dublin drinking lots of the stuff. Didn't have that effect on them. So, on to 2024, a year of major movies from top to tail. Dune Part 2, Argyle, Deadpool 3, Inside Out 2, a new Mean Girls movie, the Coen's new one, Drive Away Dogs, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Furiosa, Beetlejuice 2, Joker, Folie à Deux, and at long last, the frickin' Borderlands film is coming out. This could very well be the year we return to pre-COVID numbers. The strikes are done, audiences are coming back, new cinemas are opening, refurbishments are happening across the board. It is about damn time we got back to doing what we do best. This is going to be a good year, folks. A 20th year hanging around in cinemas for me. God, I feel old. At least those Troll Station morons from January learnt their lesson, right?
A4 is the position of Switzerland. There is some noise here.
Scotland's second opponent.
Oh, come on now! So, another 12 months done. Another year in business done, and our 10th anniversary here at TheJackSmit.com in the can at last. It's a miracle we got Wipe over the line this year. We'll be back with even more of this time in 2024. And of course the Journal will be back as we get into the meat and potatoes of this year's award season. But for now, have a great remainder of the festive season. Oh, and go away.